we end up wasting our maternity leave, or taking a call while we're in labor, or trying to wrap up just that one last email the day we get home with our new baby. Having a baby is a once in a lifetime event. Even if it's your fifth baby, that's the only time you will be home with that newborn.
Welcome to the Be Her Village podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin McGrayus. I'm a doula, a mom of three, and the founder of Be Her Village. This is the place where we talk honestly about the real cost of having a baby and what it actually takes to support parents during one of the most life-altering transitions you will go through. On today's episode, we're doing something a little different. I'm pretty excited about it. I asked Jackie Cook, the founder of Poppins and my guest today, just one question. Why are so many new parents working through their maternity leave? Whether you're preparing for your own leave, you're already in it, or you're supporting someone else through theirs, this conversation is one you do not want to miss. Before we dive in, I want to remind you that you can head over to behervillage.com to start your maternity leave fund. It's like a baby registry, but for the support you actually need. If you love what you hear today, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review. It helps other parents and birth professionals find our podcast and get the support they deserve. All right, let's get into it.
By not prepping well to be out, then we end up wasting our maternity leave, or taking a call while we're in labor, or trying to wrap up just that one last email the day we get home with our new baby. And all of those feel really sad to me because having a baby is a once in a lifetime event. Even if it's your fifth baby, that's the only time you will be home with that newborn for as much time as you have, as much time as you can take. And so our goal at Poppins is to help maximize that maternity leave experience in a way that feels good for you as a new mom and you as a professional.
Sort of want to pause and talk about, maybe if you're willing to go there with me, of how we even got into this situation
Mm.
so far away from the centering of the family unit and the mother baby dyad, and this idea that you could be holding this precious new baby and feel called to answer an email. Like, can we talk a little bit about how you even get into it? Feels wild to me. Like, it both, I understand it because I understand we're out there, we're professionals, we're working. There's this pressure to be present and constantly going. But what are the factors at play, I guess, that cause a person who has just had a baby or is literally in labor? I mean, like, when you say the words take a call while in labor, I like want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. Sorry for the graphic. It's just, it blows my mind that that is where we have ended up. So I guess, could you speak to, on whichever level you want to take it, like, how did we end up here where people are feeling this pressure to perform while
Oh,
also having babies?
yeah, that's a great question. I'll give my perspective, and there are probably many other perspectives out there, but I think there's a couple things at play. One is, if you have spent, let's say, 5 to 10 years in the workforce doing a job or jobs that hopefully you like and you're good at, or one of those or both of those, doing the flow of work is what you're used to. So in my case, I worked in tech companies in the time that I was having my babies. And that involved a lot of meetings during the day, calls with clients, emails. I had, email on my phone. So sometimes I would, in the evening, check a couple things or respond to something. I managed a team. So sometimes those folks that reported to me would text me a question, or have something where they'd say, hey, can I just grab 10 minutes? I have this situation I'm working through. And so there was this feeling of being needed by my job and being an important component of projects I was on, and helping bring cool work to fruition. That was very rewarding. And I always hope that that's the case for people. I know that's not how everyone feels about their job or their career, but I think a lot of people do, or a lot of people are driven to get to a place where they're feeling fulfilled or they're making good money or, whatever the case is, they have the title. Different people are motivated by different professional things, but you're in this flow for years. You're not in the flow of snuggling a new baby.
Mm,
That's what's new and different. And so I think in my mind, it makes sense that it's hard to turn off that other piece of our identities or to pause it for a few weeks even, and to readjust to maybe what might be a slower moment
mm,
or moments, what might be less scheduled, almost certainly is less scheduled. So it turns out, neither of my babies wanted to feed at exactly 9 a.m. and finish at 9:29, like it was a different mode of operating. And so I think that adjustment, one, when you're expecting, you don't know what that's going to be like. So you only know this is how I operate today. Email, call, Slack message, text back, keep the project moving. And then, yeah, like I said, pausing that's what's new and hard.
mm,
Um, I think the other side might be that's kind of an internal personal pressure that a lot of us put on ourselves or are just in the mode of. Some of it I do think is societal or company culture. So this is starting to shift where more men and partners, non-birthing people, are taking parental leave,
mhm,
which I think is awesome. And that is a trend that I am really supportive of and really advocate for, because I think the more we have non-birthing people prioritizing parental leave, it opens up some permission for birth moms to do the same and to maybe prepare with that in mind so that not only are we taking that core bonding time, but we also have the opportunity to take time to heal
mm.
and readjust to our new identities.
Okay, I love that. That's a really measured and rational answer. And I, but I needed that, because sometimes I feel like exacerbated by this exasperated, not exacerbated, maybe both, by these stories of like somebody took the bar exam while she was 8 centimeters dilated, or I went back to work and did surgery when I was 1 hour postpartum. Like there's these like hero stories
Hero stories.
that don't
Mm-hmm.
feel heroic to me. It feels dystopian. It feels very disconnected. But when you put it in those terms, you just did such a great job of bringing me right back into that very first motherhood experience, which is hard. I'm 13 years in. In 2 weeks, it'll be
Mm-hmm.
13 years for me since I gave birth, which is absolutely wild. I'm not ready, not ready to be a mom of a teenager, but
Like a
that's
whole new
okay.
chapter, Caitlin.
I know. So, so I really like I feel like you did such a great job of like, yeah, the norm is working. The norm is achieving. The norm is showing up and doing the thing. And I felt actually the stress of, oh, the things that feel normal and expected and rigid and routine and scheduled, that is the opposite of what motherhood is, early parenthood is, living with a newborn is, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
hectic, it's chaotic, it's changing by the minute. It is your baby on day one and night two and day four and week three is completely different and their needs are different and everything feels tough in that time. And so I guess it leads me into my question to you because I just love asking you questions, Jackie. You have such a great mind for these things and you have such a great balance of like the professional background but also that deep maternal care background, right?
Oh,
So
well,
my
thanks. I would say sometimes, the other thing was like sometimes that maternal care piece is really hard, not just because of the lack of schedule for those of us that are super type A, but also there's no real feedback loop in
mm,
the way that there is in corporate America or in a lot of traditional jobs. So I was really used to having a team of people that if I wrote a crummy email, someone would be like, you shouldn't say it that way again. There was no one telling me that when I came home with my baby. So
mm,
as people who are high achieving or want to be good at what they do, which I think all of us have some of that. All of us
Mhm.
want to feel good at what we're spending our time and our energy towards. And boy, parenting, it's real hard to know if you're crushing it or not. It's like experiment that you won't know if you passed or failed for like 40 years in my
Yeah.
mind.
I
And
love that because it's so true in the newborn phase, but also like I think about that with my oldest, who's my most challenging and child, which it is what it is. He was a high needs baby and he's wonderfully neurodiverse and I love him to death, but I wonder sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I could just know he's going to be okay. There would be, and that's maybe what you're putting into words is like the feedback loop. Just I would love to know that the things I'm putting into place now, it's such a long game and you get the
right,
one shot at it, you know. It's like
right.
I
Yeah, you
really
don't get a
hope
dress rehearsal, you don't get a do-over. You can get a
yeah.
do-over for things like I yelled at my kids yesterday about not putting their sunblock on as quickly as I wanted them to. And so I don't really get a do-over of that moment, but I can at least apologize
Yes, you get
for losing
a
cool,
repair opportunity.
a repair
Yeah.
opportunity, right? But in those early weeks, that's a really hard adjustment if you're worried about is my baby getting enough milk? Are they sleeping enough? Is this hiccuping normal or
Right.
not?
Or
And so
the phase
then,
that like doesn't, I feel like this doesn't get said out loud enough. The phase that many of us had, I know I've had, and I've heard other people say, like, is my baby blind? Are they deaf? Because they just like randomly stare past you at a corner for like an hour and you're like, are you okay? There's just this sort of heightened, am I doing this right? Is everything okay? There's this constant, and for me, it was like postpartum anxiety. So it was not necessarily a typical or clinically normal, sense of anxiety, but it was this heightened alert system of like, am I doing this right? Is this child okay? And
am
it's,
I messing this up?
am I messing this up? And the metrics that you might measure yourself by are hard because it's like you only get a check in at the doctor every few weeks. And that's where many of us rely on that doctor's appointment when perhaps there's other ways that we could be checking in with the baby and ourselves and our instincts and our own sense of normalcy. But I don't know that we can all feel like we trust ourselves in that. Yeah.
Right, right. And I think kind of tying that back to why do we then take a call for work
Yeah.
is I think there for some of us at least, there's a sense of, oh yeah, I can answer that email. I'm still good at that. I don't know
Ooh.
how I'm doing at this baby thing yet, but so and so sent me a message because I'm valuable for that. So that's
That's
something that I think some of us, not everyone, experiences. And the work in preparing for leave and preparing to go back to work isn't to say necessarily that you shouldn't take that call or you
right.
shouldn't respond to that email in my mind, but it's giving yourself permission that you don't have to, that things are covered well. And if you want to dip in or you need to dip in for certain aspects to still feel like that whole person, I don't think that's a bad thing in itself.
Wow. That's powerful. That's a powerful juxtaposition of these ideas because it's something I haven't really welcomed in. So I feel grateful for this conversation because I have always sort of bristled at this idea of people working through maternity leave or working during this moment that should, in my brain, it's like that should be protected time. But I never really thought about the feeling that work might offer a sense of normalcy. It might offer that little bit of like, hey, I'm still good at something. I'm drowning here. So it sort of flips the feeling of like it might not feel like a burden to the mother, right? And I guess that's part of the
Yeah.
balance that you have to strike. That's it for today's episode of the Be Her Village podcast. I hope that you walk away from today's episode with a little bit more understanding and a lot more compassion for why so many parents are feeling pulled back to work during the time that they're supposed to be healing, bonding with their baby, and resting. I know, as you can hear on the episode, I absolutely had my eyes opened. And I feel like Jackie did such a great job of bringing in the nuance and the complexity to that early motherhood experience for working mothers. Huge thank you to Jackie for sharing that insight and her experience. The conversation is not over. We are bringing Jackie back in the next episode to answer another powerful question. How does recovering well during your maternity leave impact your return to work? You're going to want to hear her answer. It was an amazing conversation. In the meantime, if you're preparing for parental leave, I want to remind you to visit behervillage.com to build your custom registry and get the funds and the support you need instead of just more stuff. You can also grab our free maternity leave planning guide in the show notes to help you prepare for your time off with confidence and clarity. And once again, if this episode resonated with you, please help us reach more parents like you. Sharing it, subscribing to it, leaving us a 5-star review. It all makes a huge difference in helping us support more families, more working mothers, more people welcoming babies into their world. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.